Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the new moon in Capricorn that happens on the 23rd of December 2022. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today as always. This new moon happens at 16 minutes past 11 in the morning, and that's based on Central European time. If you're west of Europe, it happens earlier on in the day, and if you're east of Europe, it happens later on in the afternoon or evening. I always mention this, but I want to mention it again today. I always think that the new moon is a 3-day event. So you have access to this energy for a 3-day period, and also you'll feel the influence quite strongly, not just at 16 minutes past 11, but over like a 3-day period. So on the 22nd, I think the moon will be pretty much black. You won't notice much of it. On the 23rd, then it's completely lights out and the new moon happens in earnest. And on the 24th, it slowly starts to grow again. So that's my take on this. It's a 3-day influence. The new moon in itself is when the moon goes pitch black and it turns inward. So it's kind of like the high priestess. It says, before I take any action, I want to contemplate what's going on in my life and I want to see what's important to me so that when I do devote myself to certain areas of my life in the next 28-day period, I am informed, I have thought about this, and I know exactly what's important to me, what seeds of intention I want to plant, and how I can nurture those so that they grow in a way that's satisfying to me and that's fulfilling. So a new moon in itself is when the sun and the moon, they conjunct each other. The moon, I always mention, is that it's the way you feel, it's what comes naturally to you emotionally, and it's what your needs are, really. The sun is what you're striving towards, it's your conscious identity and how you want to build yourself and make yourself bigger. Another way of looking at these is that the moon is your heart and the sun is your head. So because they meet each other at 1 degree in Capricorn, there's perfect communication between the two. And with those inner resources working together, you can really set amazing new goals. You know exactly what you're feeling, what you want to manifest, and it's really the perfect opportunity to make plans. So over the next 28-day period, for example, I want to focus on my work and my relationships, or I want to change how I live or the way I treat myself physically. So the sun and the moon are conjunct at 1 degree. 1 in numerology is the vibration of the pioneer, the boss, and the magician, which is really interesting because the new moon in itself carries that energy. If you have a new moon in your chart, then you're very likely to be a pioneer, to be someone who thinks outside of the box and who's very interested in doing things independently without the kind of permission of other people. It's like, I have all this knowledge and interest and curiosity. I personally want to build something with that. So this is like overpowered via a new moon at 1 degrees, that you get that pioneering energy twice. Plus, this new moon is a supermoon. The moon is going to be much closer to the earth than it usually is. You won't be able to see it because it is blacked out, but you'll certainly be able to feel it. So the new moon then is in Capricorn. Capricorn is an earth sign. I always call this the sign of the worker because it is the mountain goat that's always interested in getting to the summit, to the top of the mountain. It has great perspective and it's a difficult journey. It has to kind of grapple with avalanches and it has to walk really narrow ledges. It's an energy that is so hardworking that it can almost achieve the impossible. But you know what the message I'm getting as I'm talking? Sometimes Capricorn is also represented as kind of a sea goat. It's not just like a, what they call, not a springbok, a mountain goat, but sometimes it has this fishtail, right? I think it's depicted that way in the Celestial Tarot. And that's interesting because the sea goat is able to dive to the depths of the ocean and it's able to get to the top of the mountain. So it's a sign that achieves against all odds and it's incredibly tough. And that's why I think sometimes Capricorn does go into black and white thinking because it's so interested in getting somewhere. It doesn't feel sorry for itself. It doesn't say, oh no, the water's cold, I don't want to dive, I don't want to climb here, the air is too thin. It says, this is what I have to do, this is the way the circumstances are. Complaining isn't going to get me anywhere, so I might as well just get on with it. So it's very much about pulling up your sleeves and saying, it doesn't matter if I'm in a horrible spot in my life or in the best spot ever, Because if I use my own energy, I can overcome any obstacle. I can get to heights that no one else has achieved, and it really believes in itself. So that kind of energy is accessible to all of us. So if there are difficulties in your life or things that seem absolutely impossible, you'll actually be encouraged to look at those areas and to say, other people may not be able to manage all this chaos and drama, but I can. So in fact, this new moon then is a time of willingness to do the work, to face hardships, and rather than being intimidated by those hardships, it's like I want to thrive and I want to prove to myself that I can perform as such under any circumstances, and I'm going to do that. So if you are in a tough spot in your life at the moment, this is going to encourage you to face those things head on and to rise to the occasion. Capricorn, being the earth sign, is very much focused on finance, career, your living situation, your physical body, your environment, moving. And then if I look at it as the sea goat, then it's about working with your own emotions, the things that may be problematic or things that hold you back, and to say, do you know what? I'm not going to let anything out there stop me, but I'm certainly not going to let myself stop me. So it's not that you're pitted against yourself, but it's that you recognize the things that are difficult in you and that those aren't set in stone or that they're not meant to or designed to hold you back. You can really achieve anything and work through anything simply by keeping the focus on where do I want to go, and everything else shifts so that you can get there. So all of that said, this is incredibly encouraging. Nothing is too difficult. And I mean, we're moving into the holidays here. So if that's something that makes you nervous, or you're going to a big family function, which for some people can be difficult, you're not going to be scared of that. You're not going to be stressed out. You'll want to meet those things head on and say, if I'm interested in improving this, then I can. So that's amazing. Let's have a look at what aspect patterns the moon forms with other things in this chart. So first of all, the new moon, it forms a sesqui square, so it's 135 degrees away from Uranus at 15 degrees in Taurus. Uranus is the planet of the miraculous and the unexpected. In Taurus, it often signals chaos in your practical circumstances. So I'm getting some news about my job that I wasn't expecting, and that makes my life more difficult. Or I've got things in my local area that seem to be outside of my control. And it's exactly that. I feel that things are going on externally, which I cannot control. And I'm going to have to deal with those in some way. Now, with the sesqui square being in place, those things will be exciting rather than off-putting. It's like, okay, I'm just one person and I'm wanting to control the environment out here. How can I do that? In this case, it will be like, I want to do that. So let's say you live in some sort of a community and there's an empty lot and you want to turn that lot into like a community garden. You're going to have to get lots of people on board, maybe get signatures and write to the council to make that happen. Exactly that kind of difficult venture is going to excite you and you'll be like, yes, I want to do it. The North Node is next to Uranus there. The North Node is what you're moving towards on a soul level. That's at 10 degrees in Taurus. 10 reduces to 1 in numerology, so it's the same vibration as the new moon. And Taurus is again the earth. It's your physical environment. And Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and creativity. So it's basically, how can I make the world more charming? And how can I make my circumstances more enjoyable for myself? It's really amazing. It's like, I will work through all the chaos. I will deal with things that are outside of my control. And ultimately, I'm going to prove to myself that I can get things organized and make them more beautiful for myself and for other people. So not only do we have this pioneering spirit, but we also have this incredible direction that says, ultimately, the product is important, not the difficulties. And I want to create something that's absolutely enchanting and wonderful for other people. So with the North Node being ruled by Venus, if you're creative and you work with some sort of tangible thing, like you make pottery or art or sculpture, or you write or you create music or You're redecorating your house. I mean, it can be very trivial or it can be huge. This again gives you the courage to say, I'm going to create the masterpiece today. And it doesn't matter if the phone's constantly ringing off the hook or if I'm in an argument with my best friend. What's important here is the work. So you couldn't be any more grounded. You couldn't be any more sensible. And this really serves you in facing difficult situations. The next aspect pattern, let's see, it creates a square and the new moon, it squares, let me just get this. Neptune at 22 degrees in Pisces. Wow. Neptune is the water planet of dreams and intuition. It rules Pisces, so it's very happy in that sign. And Neptune in Pisces allows you to dream big. It allows you to understand what's important to you and what you want to manifest. And then 22 is the master number of the builder. So not only do you have the practical ability to do the legwork, to do the hard work, you're also inspired by your intuition, your higher self, your feelings, that this is what exists in my mind, but I want it to be in my actual life. So the dream is to have, a long-term loving relationship. So, okay, how do I go about doing that then? I might sign up for online dating, or I'll go to a singles speed dating thing. It's really about, this is what I want, I feel certain about it, and this is how I'm going to go about getting it, or creating it more so. So it's interesting because those are the only two relationships this new moon forms with other planets in the chart. But there are a lot of other things going on around it, I think that'll influence it. So first of all, Jupiter is near Neptune. It's not conjunct because it's at 0 degrees in Aries. But that kind of jumps out at me as significant because Jupiter has been in Pisces until recently. Jupiter is the lucky planet of growth and good luck and good fortune. Whenever anything is at 0 degrees, you get the quintessential nature of that planet. So good luck is uncomplicated, and with it being in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, a fire sign, I access good luck, or I create good luck in my life when I take independent action. So, now we've got a new moon at 1 degree. We also have it being a supermoon. So there's so much focus on you getting things done. I feel that it's almost, it's not too much of a good thing, but it could isolate you and say, okay, let's say I want to move house. I want to move to a different country. I have to get everything organized myself, and I will get everything organized myself. That's all very well and good, but it would make the whole thing much easier if you hire someone to ship your container with all your belongings to this new country rather than schlepping it all on your back. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing I would kind of deliberately insert into this chart. Don't be so willing to do absolutely everything on your own. If help is available to you, then use that. It will just make the job much easier. Yeah. Chiron is at 11 degrees in Aries. Also, it doesn't necessarily interact with the new moon. But Chiron is the wounded healer. 11 is the master number of service. And Aries, again, is I do things independently. So the things that you do now during this 3-day period, or the things you decide to do, they will heal your life as such by making it more aligned with what you want. So you'll thank yourself for all this energy that you use during this new moon, especially in future when you then are sitting in the better circumstances. And you can thank yourself for getting yourself there, really. Okay, we also have the personal planets Venus and Mercury both in Capricorn, and then we have Pluto in Capricorn. Again, they don't conjunct the moon, but they're nearby. So Venus is 15 degrees away from the new moon, and I use 10 degree orbs. So it's just outside of the conjunction, but I feel it still influences it. Venus is about love, it's the mother, it's the empress, it's about creation. If you're starting your own business, and if someone asks me in a personal reading, hey Greg, when should I start the new business? When is the best day to do it? I always look at Venus first. If Venus is in retrograde, it's not a good time to start a new business because the creative, loving energy is it appears to be going backwards and it's not as accessible. Here, Venus is completely direct and it's at 16 degrees in Capricorn. 1 and 6 is 7. 7 in numerology is the mind and creativity. And Capricorn, again, is the worker both on land and in the water. So my own feelings, my actual circumstances. So Venus allows you to get very creative with your life as such. It's like, okay, I have this job, I live in this country, but that's only a detail. What's really important is where I want to be. So that is priceless. And then we have Mercury, the communication planet, at 21 degrees in Capricorn. That allows you to express yourself beautifully. So again, if you're a creative person, if you're writing, or if you're doing flower arranging, Mercury really helps you create beautiful things. But the communication planet being at 21, 2 and 1 being 3, in numerology, that is communication and new beginnings. So it's almost like Mercury is supported even more. And in Capricorn, it then means you can have this amazing output, but also that your physical circumstances will start talking back. So if you're reading symbols on tarot cards, you'll understand those very easily. If you're walking around and if you're going hiking or something, you may get a message from nature. It's like the physical, tangible, earthy stuff starts to talk to you in a way that's more symbolic. And Pluto is the planet of transformation and change, death and rebirth. And it's at 27 degrees in Capricorn. Everything is double in this chart. It's amazing because Pluto is, okay, the phoenix rising from the ashes. Let's transform from a pile of ash into this firebird. 2 and 7 is 9. 9 is spirituality and completion. It's the hermit in the tarot. So it's the same thing. It's, I want to rebirth myself as such. I want to end one cycle so that I can begin a new one. And in Capricorn, it's which practical circumstances in my life still serve me and which have I outgrown. So if you have a tendency to hang on to things for longer than they actually serve you, Pluto comes along and says, just let go. It's okay to lose things. It's okay to feel like you're in transition. It's okay, it's normal. And let things go that no longer work for you and replace them with this future and these circumstances that you will create, which then are going to be much more aligned with what you truly want. Okay, so this being the last new moon of the year, it will influence you going into January. So if you are looking at 2023 and you're saying, do you know what, I want my life to be totally different, which is a big ask, right? And a big job. Then this new moon says, of course, let's get to it. Let's change absolutely every detail in your life so that you can transform it into something that completely serves and inspires you. These two personal planets, Venus and Mercury, and then the outer planet Pluto, they oppose Black Moon Lilith at 28 degrees in Cancer. So again, the one thing that isn't so supported is your desire to take care and help other people. And because Capricorn can often be very black and white, I think the attitude that you'll take is, well, you're responsible for your own stuff. Take care of yourself. But the reality is that sometimes in your life, you won't be as capable in a particular area. And at other times, you'll be really strong in a particular area. So that expectation of everyone is alone, everyone is responsible for their own stuff, that can come across as a little bit cold. And it can mean that you're not as compassionate or empathetic or even willing to help other people because you feel this sense of, well, I have to deal with my own stuff, you deal with yours. It's a little bit tough. So if you find yourself going into that headspace, do have some compassion and look at this other person, whether they're actually able to take care of themselves in that area, rather than write them off and say, well, it's your problem, bye. Okay. Saturn is at 21 degrees in Aquarius. Saturn is structure and security. 21 again is 3, that's communication and new beginnings. And Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian and the teacher. So there's going to be a major ability to speak to institutions or groups of people and to receive the information that you need to help you make these changes that you want. So research mode, top notch. You're able to get answers as and when you need them. So that's not a problem. If you're trying to make changes, the right information will always appear to you as and when you need it. And then finally, Mars is at 10 degrees in Gemini. Mars is the planet of drive and ambition. At 10 degrees, again, it's one. I want to do things alone and grit my teeth doing it. And in Gemini, it's expression and creation. However, Mars is in retrograde, so that may be a little bit unreliable. And what I mean by that is if you're trying to get your point across and have someone else understand you, you may formulate something badly, or you may want to share a message in a particular way and it comes out really differently. So that's another thing then I would suggest you look out for, is if you're trying to be understood by another human being, that may not go 100%. They may only hear half the story or misinterpret something. And if you feel this desire to be understood, which anyway, with the new moon being in Capricorn, I think that's unlikely. But if you need someone to completely understand where you're at and who you are, I would leave that till after this new moon. Or I would leave that until Mercury in Gemini goes direct, because there is the potential for things not to match up. I'm a big believer in working with what comes naturally, right? And the thing during this new moon that's natural is your feelings in your head being totally aligned. So work on understanding yourself and what you want, rather than trying to get another person or a group of people to really see you for who you are. I mean, you could argue that under normal circumstances is tricky anyway, but during this new moon, I think that's going to be even more of a challenge. We do have a yod in this chart. A yod is known as the finger of God. It is made up of a sextile. The sextile here is between Chiron and Aries and Mars and Gemini. And then the two quincunx, the south node, at 10 degrees in Scorpio. So the combination of that is, I want to be of service to myself. I may not always express myself correctly, especially to other people. But the direction I'm moving in, ultimately, the thing that's really important, or the thing that comes very easily, is that I'm able to dive into my truth, claim it, and then work with it. So that just underlines the point I've already made. You understand yourself, so work with that. Don't waste so much energy trying to get other people to see you. And that's it. Let me just tilt my head and see if there's anything I've missed. No, we've got the yod, we've got oppositions. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I get for you here during this new moon in Capricorn. I hope you have a wonderful time. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, scroll down a little bit until you get to the button that says book your reading. Click on that to audio reading with me. In my personal readings, I use astrology, tarot, and numerology. I combine all three to give the answers that you may be looking for. And if you have any questions about your strengths and weaknesses, finances, relationships with other people, love life, moving, institutions, education, career, hopes and dreams, spirituality, anything at all, by looking at your birth chart, I really get the answers to all of those things. If you're in a kind of transition period, I can look at the progress chart and the transits to see what's coming up in future and where you're at in your life and what the best priorities are. And I also use astrocartography if there's anything around moving and locations. It shows me which places are going to work for you and which don't. So if you're interested in any of those things, please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please hit subscribe and share the video online. Have an amazing time here during this new moon, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best. Take care.